Okay, so I think we can start with Miss Shom, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Pari and SparkED team to invite me today. Let's go to the second slide. My name is Shayoni Show. I just completed my PhD in bioinformatics from Iowa State University. And previously I had a BTech degree, like it's a 4-year undergraduate course from Vellore Institute of Technology. This is a university in India. I tried applying for grad programs after my undergrad degree, but I wasn't successful. So I did a multiple stint of internships in different countries, such as Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, before coming over here for my PhD. Let's go to the next slide. So during my PhD, I had been, working on a variety of different projects. I have been very successful in that we could do a lot of collaborative projects with different experimental biologies. Here I have shown 2 key projects which I did in my thesis. First of all, being that there are some bacteria which is able to, confer antibiotic resistivity. And they do that by using this protein, which you see in the right-hand side, that yellow color protein. So they are able to confer antibiotic resistance because of the help of these proteins. So what I did during my research is I was trying to use simulations to understand that how these proteins are able to help throw out these drugs out of the bacterial cell, which in turn makes the bacteria confer antibiotic resistivity. So that was one of the main projects. The second project, which I've shown here, so we got this different cow milk samples from a commercial dairy plant, which had been collected at different stages of processing. So when in the commercial dairy plant, the cow milk is processed through different stages, such as heat treatment, then homogenization, skimming. So we collected those samples, and I was trying to find out whether we can find non-coding RNAs in these mink samples. So here on the right-hand side, I'm showing the non-coding RNA. So non-coding RNAs are those RNAs which do not translate into protein or functional parts, which helps, do a lot of different biological functions. So we were trying to find out what were the non-coding RNAs in these mink samples, particularly which are helping in growth and immune response. So I was able to find that. And another objective was to figure out whether these stages of processing are actually affecting the expression levels of these non-coding RNAs, which would be helpful to know, like whether we can target some of these non-coding RNAs for biofortification, particularly to confer immune-related benefits. So let's get to the next slide. As Pari had asked me, let's get to the next slide. So as Pari had asked me, what I think, benefits from this being as a computational biologist or as a bioinformatician. I think the best part is that I can work on a lot of different projects in different fields, whether it be agriculture, or I have worked with human models, as well as mouse models, plants, cows, bacteria, or you can be investigating mechanisms in cancer, lung disease. So you can work in any kind of field of biology where you want to, solve mysteries. And the second part is that you can be very creative and innovative, and you can build your own software, or you can build your own tool to approach a problem. Now, I asked my lab mate about this, what he thinks is a perk of being a computational biologist. So he quoted that it's like the most non-hazardous way, because yes, we don't really work with chemicals. We are doing a lot of our work through computers, or building algorithms and models. So he thinks that this is like the most non-hazardous but creative way to contribute to the science and help mankind. And another thing which I felt over all these years of working in the field of computational biology, you have a lot of independence to work from almost any place. Like I've traveled to different places and even have done my research sitting there, just sitting on the beach and doing my work. So you have that kind of independence, especially even during COVID pandemic. We saw that I was lucky that most of my research could be done remotely. using big computers, and I didn't have to worry much about that my research will be impacted because of the pandemic. So yes, those are some of the benefits, and I'm happy to be here in today's session.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Shum, for introducing yourself. I think this is very amazing, and I think we're excited to learn more about your journey and any insights that you have as we continue. I think we can introduce our next panelist, Kyle, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. My slide definitely isn't as extensive, but my name is Kyle. I'm a rising junior at Columbia. I'm studying biology and computer science. And as you can see here, I've only been here at Columbia for a year. I actually transferred from the University of Miami. So really, that's been a huge part of how I even decided on computational biology, because the program at UMiami, a few professors there really piqued my interest, and I'm forever grateful, thankful, all of the above. And yeah, as far as key projects that I've had at Miami, I was a part of I wouldn't say strictly computational lab, but somewhat public health, somewhat biostatistics lab, where we basically looked at the urban Miami area, looked at all of the different types of air pollution, both indoors and outdoors. These things called volatile organic compounds, which basically are these compounds that eject from things like paints, furniture, basically everything that you would possibly think of. And these things, we tried to correlate these to different diseases like asthma, all the way up to the higher end of the spectrum, like lung cancer. And yeah, just using different computational techniques. I think we were using different things like that. And then now I'm currently working on a project at Memorial Sloan Kettering. It's a cancer center in New York. And basically, I mean, it's been really fun so far. I'm halfway through right now. And we're basically looking at genomic data, like read data, and trying to infer what's called copy number aberrations, just like different mutations that point to different types of cancers. So basically trying to predict different types of cancers from genomic data. And so this is a lot more computational, and I've loved it so far. Definitely one of my favorite labs. And for this upcoming semester, hopefully I'll have something with one of the labs at Columbia, but that's all I'm doing so far. And as far as what I love about computational biology, it really combined both of my favorite subjects coming in, because I came in thinking pure biology, but then I loved a lot of the high school classes I took in computer science. So I was really torn between the two. I didn't want to go and become like a full Google software engineer, but I wanted to find a way to combine the two. So it does that. And what else? Like she said before, my work increased over the pandemic, so not really affected there. And yeah, I've loved it so far.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I know that the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center has, I think, like high school oriented like speaker sessions or like speaker series. If that's also something that anyone in high school is interested in, I can put the link for that in the chat. But yeah, we're excited to have you here, Kyle, and yeah, we'll see how we can learn more about your experience.
There are also a bunch of high school summer research programs. I can go ahead and find them afterwards, but
okay, yeah, that would be great. Okay, I think Stephen, if you want to share.
Great. So good morning, everyone. I'm Stephen. I'm a graduating biomolecular engineering bioinformatics junior at UCSC, and then I'll be starting a contiguous master's in the same program this fall. So a bit about me. Although I'm a biomolecular engineering student, my research is split between computational and wet lab. So if you're interested in any wet lab aspects and how that compares to dry lab, I can answer some questions on that. But again, like most of my research is computational focused. So I've attended 2 different summer research programs. one at Big Data Summer Institute in the School of Public Health at University of Michigan. And that was in person between my freshman and sophomore year. And then this previous summer, I was at Bruins and Genomics at UCLA. And both were like computational projects. One was doing a bulk RNA-seq deconvolution of cancer like patient tumor tissues and doing survival analysis on that. And the UCLA program was doing a convolutional neural network for structural variant calling. So I have other ongoing work on school labs, working with some grad students on analyzing some single-cell RNA-seq data and coming up with some algorithms to analyze or cluster or process large data sets. I'm also working remotely for a therapeutics startup on making a platform for bulk RNA-seq analysis. And I've done a few other assorted bioinformatics projects, one on a Golden Gate assembly tool to help design that assembly. And then when I'm starting my master's, I'll be working with Benedict Patton on pangenome transcriptomics. In terms of like wet lab work, do a lot of synthetic biology. So I'm one of the UCSC iGEM co-captains currently working on a phage-delivered CRISPR mechanism for sequence-specific elimination of a specific gene in a mixed culture. And I really enjoy this field because there's a lot of technical freedom, intellectual freedom, technical challenge. And like kind of Kyle mentioned, it combines all these fields. It's super interdisciplinary. I've always enjoyed biology, but I kind of wanted something more applied and engineering oriented than most of like the normal biology classes that you get that are just memorization. I also feel that like applying CS to a biology and the problems that you're solving, it's a lot more meaningful as a career. And as mentioned before, like doing bioinformatics work, you can do it anywhere, anytime. Like I've had to go into lab 8 a.m. and then 10:30 p.m. in a single day to like take care of some cells and things. And that's like a little bit annoying versus being able to like, stay at home in your bed and still do research. So a couple of pieces of advice that I found pretty useful was to like, don't pre-screen and pre-filter yourself. So this applies to a lot of like applying to programs and internships and lab positions. Like you don't want to oversell yourself, but oftentimes like job positions will list more requirements and more things that they're looking for. So you can just apply and then let that person across the table, decide whether you're qualified or not. And again, there's going to be with applications and things a large element of chance, and really like focus on what you can control and what you can't. Don't worry about that. One more piece of advice is to take good notes when you're in school. So a lot of classes, like in the moment, you might not think is very useful, but there's been many times where like I've had to remember or recall or look back on something that I've done, like two years ago, and being able to have good notes on that makes things so much easier. Yeah, so feel free to like ask me about getting involved in research or like applying to summer research programs or industry work or like what lab stuff or like really anything you'd like to know.
Yeah, thank you so much for introducing yourself. I think a lot of your experience is very relevant, and I think a lot of us can learn from that. Really quickly, I'm going to open up Zubair's presentation. Zubair, if you would like to introduce yourself as well now.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Zubair, and I'm currently a rising senior at Chapman University. And I'm a molecular biologist by training. However, I'm a lot more interested in computational biology and bioinformatics. I'm also working towards 2 minors in data science and neuroscience. And I plan to apply to PhD programs this upcoming fall and hopefully start next fall. So you can go to the next slide. All right, why do I like bioinformatics? So I define bioinformatics as the data science of biology, and the figure on the left, I feel like it describes it pretty well. If you sub in biology for the domain knowledge portion of data science, it becomes bioinformatics. And to be honest, a couple of years ago, I hated coding. I was never a computational guy, but once, I think it was a little bit after COVID hit, I took an online data science course, and I fell in love with it because the fact that you can manipulate and visualize data just with code, I just found that absolutely fascinating. So I was working on a bunch of coding projects on the side, but then I was a biology major in school, so I was like, let's take hand in hand, let's put them together, and boom, you get bioinformatics. So yeah, anyways, bioinformatics has a ton of great applications, anywhere from gene therapy, drug discovery, biomarkers, and a lot of other good stuff. You can go to the next slide. So I'll start off with some key projects. Not all of them are strictly bioinformatics related, but they kind of follow a timeline in a way. So my first research experience was over summer 2019, where I was interning at San Francisco State University. This research was developmental biology research, where I was selectively breeding fruit flies, and I believe I was attempting to knock down a certain protein and visualize it after mitosis or something like that. But this experience honestly was not the best. I did not like the research, and I knew that strict biology research was not for me. But I met some really cool people, and I basically built my network, and I got to see how research was done in a lab. You can go to the next slide. So this was more of a machine learning project where I was, me and two other people were attempting to predict spiny and aspiny neuron firing rates. And we did this by using this database called the Allen SDK. And we obtained a bunch of data from there, and we kind of feature engineered it, we cleaned it, and we built these machine learning algorithms. I believe it was decision trees and logistic regression. And we were able to make the computer predict whether or not a neuron was aspiny or spiny, and whether or not it was in mice or human cells. So that was a really cool machine learning project. It kind of, again, it combined stuff, combined technical aspects to science. You can go to the next slide. All right, this was another summer research experience of 2020. So this was during COVID. This was all virtual, unfortunately. It would have been really cool to work on this in the lab. But what we were trying to do here is, me and my team were attempting to create a point of care device, very similar to a pregnancy test, except instead of a pregnancy test, this device would tell you if you had a UTI or not. So I was in charge of using these softwares, these CAD softwares like Onshape and ANSYS, to create mixing chamber geometries and kind of measure the way two fluids can mix with one another. So in the picture in the top right, the green areas are that's basically a model for mixing two fluids together and seeing how well they will kind of mix with each other at the end. And there was a little bit of coding involved in this too. I was also working with the imaging chamber. So this computer would take screenshots of these beads, and it would try to tell whether or not it was red, green, or a positive result, a negative result, or a result that didn't really make any sense. So another really cool project. You can go to the next slide. And so this kind of leads me to my final research project, which I'm currently doing right now. So I'm currently in Sweden, interning at the SciLife lab. and this is all bioinformatics related research. And I'm investigating the relationship between long-term strength and endurance training with anyone that has some sort of pathological condition like diabetes or mitochondrial dysfunctions in a way. So my job here is to create a bioinformatics pipeline to be able to compare these two proteomic data sets. So a really cool experience, and I'm having a lot of fun. So I'll kind of leave it at that right now. And if you guys have any other questions about each experience or anything, we can talk about it later.
Yeah, thank you so much for introducing. And I think it's kind of really interesting how you, and I guess a lot of other speakers as well, like transitioned from more of a biology background to kind of a mix. I think it's an interesting progression, kind of a trend that's viewed. I think we can kind of progress now as we've introduced into questions that we've had RSVP guests who had put in our form, or also just general questions that if anyone has a question, feel free to put that in the chat, or also later on if you want to voice it. Yeah, I think I'll let my colleague Disha, who is our Director of Finance, she can take it away with a few questions.
Hi, everyone. The first question we've got is, what made you choose the degrees that you've earned or are currently working toward?
Okay, so which order we are going? Which order are we answering this? Like, I think all of the panelists will be answering.
Yeah, I'd suggest, if it applies to all of you, in this case, I'm pretty sure it definitely does. I'd say maybe go in the order that you introduced yourselves, then it's really easy for us to keep track of you as an audience.
Okay, sure. Well, actually, the first motivation I got was that in my high school, I had both maths and biology as my majors when I was getting my high school, stuff done. So that kind of, and that time I had learned about this Human Genome Project, which kind of made me really feel very inspired. Oh my God, there are so many nucleotide bases in our body and all those things. So that kind of motivated me when I was choosing my major and my undergrad. So I dived into bioinformatics at first sight itself, not like other speakers. So yeah, and I was very inspired that, okay, I can be applying my math skills in biology, and there it was like an interdisciplinary field. So that kind of, made me go for it.
Yeah, I can go next. I'd say, because like I said before, I originally was only a biology major, was my high school courses, just because I really enjoyed, what I found was what really made the class was having a really good teacher. So just really enjoyed my biology class in high school. I had one CS class, and that teacher was great too, but honestly, I didn't really like coding. So I don't know what changed in the next 2 years, but something flipped in that next year where I actually enjoyed it. But I'd definitely say that having those teachers or even mentors really shaped my decision. And then I guess what shaped my decision to go into CS was I guess just interest. I think I started over the summer, where basically I started looking at these online courses, online like edX. I'm blanking on the other websites, but these online resources to learn like computer science. And from there, I was like, why not try it out? And it's just been a cascade from there. But yeah.
So I guess when I was starting college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was thinking maybe pre-med, but I kind of chose my degree at least because it was essentially biology in an engineering department. It was a pretty broad and interdisciplinary major in which we're like sampling classes from CS, physics, biology, tons of chemistry. And I was thinking, like, I don't know what I like, so I'll just take this major and figure it out from there. And I took this one research programming classes freshman year, and I really enjoyed that. So I kind of, from then on, started doing more and more computational things, but I still do, some wet lab.
So I had no idea what I wanted to do when I came into college. I just kind of applied random majors. I knew I wanted to do something within science. So I decided to kind of stick with biology. And again, just like Steven, I was pre-med, I believe. And then 2 years before that, I think I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. And then I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was just jumping around. And now I'm at a biotech company. So I really don't think that, if a lot of you, as long as you guys are curious right now, that's all you need, and you have a drive. You don't like get yourself boggled down on one specific subject. Just stay open and let your experiences in college guide you and pave your path. And trust me, it'll fall together. It'll come together at the end. So.
Alrighty, next we've got, can you describe an average day for you?
Okay, so an average day for me, well, that's a tricky question. Oh, well, it mostly, starts with doing the daily course and then, getting ready and then going to the lab. Particularly, the research is like, it is not like, every day is going to be the same day. Sometimes you are stuck with a problem, and that can, you may be trying to troubleshoot a code or trying to figure out how to do some kind of data analysis. And that can take sometimes days or weeks. So it may happen that one day you are just working on the same thing and getting bugged out why it's not working out. And that can happen like, for several days. And then one day it may happen that, you're done with your work in an hour or two, and you can, do other stuffs like just chill around. So that's, my day, it's not really like every day is a regular same kind of work. It's more of like one day you have a challenge, one day you are able to do it. And yeah, and sometimes we have meetings. So if there are meetings with my collaborators or with my advisor, then that's a different thing. Like we do have some set of meetings in a week. And that takes around like 3 to 4 hours in a week. Maybe you have group meetings one day, advisor meetings another day, so it takes like 4 to 5 hours per week. Otherwise it's more of like you're working, you're trying to learn, maybe take out some time reading some magazines or science articles, what's going on new in the field. So yeah, it's kind of like not a very monotonous day.
Yeah. So I guess my daily schedule is somewhat similar. When I first started what I'm doing right now, there was a lot of more on the biology side, more than the computational side. So just really, there was a lot of reading a lot of academic papers, not understanding anything, and then having my advisors try and explain it to me, and then they're still basically speaking a foreign language. It's like really difficult to understand. But then just eventually, gradually learning more as you go along. And definitely now I've transitioned into the computational side. So like it was previously stated, just trying to take code, debug it, find out what you broke, what's going on, and fixing it. Just a lot of ups and downs throughout the week. So that's what I'm doing right now. Today, that's my plan. Going through trying to fix something for Monday, and then a bunch of lab meetings. So 2 to 3 lab meetings throughout the week, where we basically just listen to what's going on within the lab. Sometimes I'll have to give presentations about my project, just different things like that. So a huge learning experience all around.
Yeah, so I guess currently my schedule for the summer is a little bit more structured since I'm doing the iGEM research. So usually like I get up at 8 and then on campus at 9. Then iGEM wet lab stuff is from 9 to 5. And for me, like during the day, since like I'm co-captain, it's a lot of like making timelines, reading things, reading papers, and like it's a lot of running around and like helping and troubleshooting like different web app things. And then usually around 5, I take a nap and then like get a little bit of exercise, and then I start more of the computational stuff I'm doing, and that's like more coding in like the evenings, and then I just kind of go home when I'm tired and restart. So it's a little bit more busy now, but it's different when there's school, and when there's school, your schedule's mostly built around classes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say my schedule is very similar to Kyle's. At the beginning of this experience, there's a lot of scientific article reading. It's not very fun because you don't understand half the stuff you're reading, and it's a lot of Googling. But now, obviously, I have transitioned more into the computational side. But yeah, so I mean, it's waking up at around 7 or 8 and heading into the lab, and I would say about 75% of my stuff is on. I'm using R, so it's coding, and maybe about 25% of it is on Excel. And it's a lot of, as the 3 other panelists said, it's a lot of debugging, finding issues in the code. And so my job here is to create a pipeline. Now, the pipeline is relatively simple to make. The challenge is to make that more efficient and reproducible for multiple scenarios. So that takes up a ton of my time. Yeah, so that's pretty much, I guess, what I do right now. But yeah, it has shifted more to computational stuff as of now.
So here I would like to add one point. So as we all talked about troubleshooting and all, I would like to add here that if anytime you get stuck anywhere, like any of you guys are working on a project and get stuck, don't hesitate to read or to seek out help on the communities, because there are a lot of coding communities which have very good troubleshooting forums. So because a lot of times when we are starting to code by ourselves, we don't really know about those platforms. So it kind of the learning curves gets longer. So if you can if you're getting stuck somewhere, seek out help. There are a lot of expert people who can help you troubleshoot a lot of issues faster. So yeah, just wanted to add here.
Stack Overflow is your best friend.
Yes.
All right, here, I think we might have touched on this a little bit earlier, specializations from general science to biology and then computational biology, but could you describe in depth to us in terms of education and experience, how do you specialize from general science or even completely different interests into what you're doing today?
Okay, so I'll start here. So in my undergrad course, the first 2 years were like, a lot of variety of different courses. Like I did electrical engineering and, doing a lot of, different disciplines of engineering, like civil. And we had a lot of different courses before jumping into actual bioinformatics. So the thing is that gives you a perspective that maybe you can get some inspiration, like, maybe you can admire what's going on in electrical engineering and all those fields. I think that helped. The other thing is that I didn't come to the topic which I'm doing right now, like, instantly. Like it took over time. Like I had worked on a variety of different kind of projects before getting interested in this. So the thing what should matter is that you should enjoy what you're doing. So the thing is, whatever I'm doing the day to day, this is something which I enjoy doing. That's why I'm able to do it. So I have been working on certain systems, like I've been working on computational biophysics for last few years, but right now I'm more interested in machine learning. So I'm trying to learn about that. So never hesitate from diving into new areas whenever you can. If you see, okay, this is something new, upcoming field. So don't hesitate to, dive in or learn about it. And yes, if you feel that this is something which interests you, go and do it. But if this is something which doesn't look that interesting, then maybe you want to, question and check out other areas. So that's my thought on this.
Yeah. I would say it doesn't really matter at all where you start, because I would say there's an equal amount of people coming from biology and then later on learning computer science as there is pure computer science major students coming into and learning biology later on, or whatever the other aspect of that is. So definitely whatever you're doing right now, you can learn what you need to learn as you go along, as long as the interest is there. I would separate it into, as far as like concrete things that you can do to prepare or get ready. I would say there are courses from whatever school you're going to, for high school, and then college if you're going to college. Then there are like side projects or self-learning that you're doing, and then there are experiences like internships, research, etc. So there are dedicated classes, courses that you can learn about depending on your school, where they'll teach you what you need to learn as far as computational biology. And then some schools may not have it, but you can learn them independently, like go through CS classes and then learn through bio classes. And then on the side, you can have like different projects that you're working on, even if they're guided or just basically tutorials. So you're not really originally doing anything per se, but you're still learning, going through, learning different things. And then I think, as Steven said earlier, for internships, they'll have a baseline list of qualifications that they want, but you don't have to meet 100% at all. Because if they offer you the job or the internship, then obviously they think that you have the potential either to learn them as you go along, or that they're not as important as you thought. So definitely learning all of that. I guess the most important aspects looking back, what I wish I knew or learned earlier on, would be probability, linear algebra, and that's a lot of what I do right now. That's like a lot, those two. So definitely learning a lot of that earlier on than later. But yeah, just as long as the interest is there, you can get started anywhere along your journey.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's fine to not know what you want to do right now. I'm still trying to figure out things. And again, it's like you don't have to be super specialized in your undergrad. That can be for later, for like a PhD, where you can actually get really, really super in depth into a field. So there's, I guess, a lot of following what you enjoy at that moment and trying different projects. So like, I found that I've learned most through like internships and with like mentors and things, because it's different from doing something in the class where it's kind of guided, or there's like one correct answer. But in real research, you're working with really dirty, messy data, and just like being able to talk to either like the biologists that have generated the data, or like a mentor that has experienced and has like hands-on experience with that field, makes things really fun and challenging, and through that you'll develop like, oh, I like this, I want to do more of this, and then you can pursue that in the next quarter, year, or look for programs oriented towards that one direction.
Yep. So as I said before, you don't need to know what you want to do, especially where you guys are right now, high school and middle school. Right when you get to college, you'll be taking a bunch of courses, and they're going to be from everything. You're not just going to be taking biology. You're not just going to be taking chemistry classes. There's a whole spectrum of different classes that you're going to be taking. So I say that you should use those classes to your advantage. See if you're interested in the subject matter. See if you're interested in that sort of material, and then you can go forward with it. One big tip is to talk to your professors. Like, your professors are there to help you. They are walking encyclopedias of that whatever field they're teaching, they're studying in. They have done the research. They know what's up. So make sure you talk to them. They can give you reference letters. They can help you in the future. Maybe one day you'll be doing research for them. And so you also have 3 summers during college. Take use of them. Don't sit around and just play video games all day. Apply to jobs. Apply to internships. You never know what you're going to get. And that way, so for example, for me, my first experience, I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy it. So I knew that wet lab research was probably not for me. So then I applied to something different the next year, and I kind of liked that. Applied for something the year after that, and now I really, really enjoy it. So I feel like those internships and job opportunities are very great ways of continuing some sort of specialization, or understanding what you're truly interested in.
All right, a little notice for our audience. We're a little tight on time, so let's see if we can speed up just a little bit for these next few questions. Now we've got, do you think it's necessary to have a degree other than just a bachelor's degree in computational biology to have a career in this field?
Well, it depends. I think where you have, done your undergrad degree from. And I mean, some people after their undergrad degree go for programmer related job openings. So if that is something more of interest to you, then you definitely, can definitely pursue a career as a developer or a programmer. But if you are looking for more into research, I think it would depend, like, which university have you done your undergrad degree from. But I mean, advanced degrees are always encouraged, particularly if you are, trying to have your growth later in your career.
Wait, sorry, what was the second half of the question again? I was reading some of the comments.
Right, they were asking if it's possible to have a career in computational biology with just a bachelor's degree, or if it's necessary to get a graduate degree.
Okay. I definitely think as you get additional graduate degrees, it makes it easier to land a job or a position on a research team. But there's that trade-off with how much time you spend. So if you want to get, for example, a master's, that's maybe 1 to 2 years, maybe 3. If you want to go and get a PhD, that's up to 7 years, I think. So definitely you'll have a higher chance of getting a job with the PhD, but there's a lot of time that it takes to do that. But then there are also positions that you can get right out of with just your bachelor's. I've seen at a lot of, I guess I'm biased, but I've seen at a lot of cancer centers like Memorial Sloan Kettering, like the Broad Institute in Massachusetts. You can get positions straight out of college with a BS. So I think there are opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, higher education beyond like a BS isn't necessary, but may be useful. So the master's opened up the most amount of doors with the least amount of commitment / time. So a lot of programs will have, like, your schools will have contiguous masters. So that's like 4 years undergrad and 1 year masters. And the undergrad could be like pushed down a little bit if it works out. And then you can have a very short, number of years for a master's. If you want to get to if you want to actually drive the research and get to like director level positions in the company, most of the time a PhD is like the easiest way to get there, or staying at a company a very, very long time with a BS. Just because, like, scientists are sometimes kind of stuck up and don't like the idea of someone with a BS like commanding them around. They're like, why I go to, you know, 6-7 years of education just to have someone with more education than someone with 4 years. But you can definitely be recognized if you stay in a company for long enough. And then if you want to be a professor, a PhD and a postdoc is absolutely necessary. So it just kind of depends on what you exactly want to do. And it's fine to take, you know, do your undergrad, spend, you know, 1-2 years in industry, and then to get a master's or a PhD.
Yeah, I would say if you're trying to go for a computational biologist or a bioinformatics related position at some sort of biotech company like Thermo Fisher or Genentech, 90% of the time you probably would need at least a master's. But if you're trying to become a professor, you're going to need a PhD. But if you're just looking at some sort of a normal research associate type position, I think a bachelor's would suffice. However, like others said, it's always beneficial to obtain higher education.
Okay, I would like to add one point here. If you are really, I mean, we are like, you know, a lot of time figuring out what is good for us or what we want to really do. But if you have like a set goal, you can actually do undergrad degree for like, you know, 4 years and then directly go for a PhD program. And PhD in bioinformatics can take like, you know, you can get done like in 4 or 5 years also. Like the average time is like, you know, 4 to 5 years. So if this is something which appeals to you, so that can be a way as well. You know, just get your undergrad and bachelor's degree in 8 years and in the real world.
Yeah, that was great. All right, next, let's see really quickly. Yeah, we've got what can high school students do to get involved in this field?
Can you repeat your question again? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. We had a viewer asking, what can high school students do to get involved in computational biology?
Okay, so yeah, in last 2 years, I have, you know, I have seen some programs here in Iowa, as well as I have been involved with Biotech Partners, which is a nonprofit organization who provides summer research programs for high schoolers, particularly in bioinformatics and I think in molecular biology also. So last year, I got involved with them during the COVID pandemic as an instructor and then as a mentor for some of the high school students for their Python related you know, projects. And this year also, I think they all got partnered with industry partners like Bayer and other places. They were doing internships at those places for these projects. So I think that will, I felt that those programs were very useful because they were giving like, you know, the first hand exposure at high school level itself, like what kind of Python related packages or how you can, you know, approach data analysis. So I think that is something you guys can look forward into, like getting another thing is that what I have observed or experienced here in United States, like universities or professors are pretty cool. Like if you feel like, you know, you want to get you are really keen to learn, you can definitely, you know, go ahead and just mail the professor that, you know, I want to learn. Is there any way I can, you know, do some, you know, summer internship or some kind of short-term work with you? So they will be, you know, happy to help out or, you know, get you in touch with some of their students. So I think these are some of the ways, like, you know, I mean, you don't have to learn all the skills before jumping into a project. A lot of the skills are learned on the way. So if you feel you have interest, just go ahead and approach these organizations or, you know, different academic labs.
Yeah. I would say as computational biologists, we really have it hard, just because unless you have a high school program at your school that specifically focuses on that, or like a club or something, the chances are you're probably not going to have like a class or anything specifically focusing on that. So you really have to go out of your way to take initiative and learn these different things. So whether that be through like an internship, emailing out different professors at schools, colleges, community colleges near you that are willing to take on high school students. Like we said previously, just learning a lot. You don't have to know everything before you start a project or a commitment like research or something. So I would say if you wanted to get started now, like from a blank slate, you have no previous knowledge, I would say get somewhat acclimated with some programming languages. I think we put in the chat like Python, R, SQL, maybe. Just getting familiar with it because you're going to learn as you go along. So really that, and then yeah, applying to different research programs. But it's not do or die. Like if you don't get any before you go to college, you're fine. You can keep going.
Yeah, I did zero research in high school. So like you don't have to be worried if you have little to no experience, because really high school is a time to like grow and learn social skills. And like I've seen people like do research all through high school, get to college and just like burn out and like, hate STEM. So like really think about your motivations, about like why you want to get into this. Is like something that you actually are passionate about, or is it your parents, pressuring you, or like you see some peer that is doing something and you're like, I need to do this too, because life isn't about that, and like work isn't everything. On the other hand, if you are really like motivated and you're curious, learning Python through online resources and maybe R are useful. Look for summer programs. There's going to be some oriented for high school students. You can email professors to be a summer intern. It's a little bit harder during the school year because like unless you have a college near you, it's going to be very difficult to commute. And commuting would be good because you get better mentorship that way, especially as you're starting off. I think one of the biggest, easiest things that you can do that would be extremely useful is taking summer classes at community colleges. These classes will be a lot more useful and most likely better than whatever class you're taking at your high school. And you can check online. If you're going to UCs, there's going to be a lot of classes that will transfer over. In terms of your AP classes, the only ones that are useful that I've seen would be Calc A and B, and AP Bio. And for AP Bio, at least at UC Santa Cruz, you need to have a 5 on that. So all the other classes APs will transfer over in terms, maybe not all, but most of them will transfer over in terms of credit, which will help you with your class standing, meaning you can get into the classes that you need to earlier. But like taking the community college classes will actually directly transfer over as a prereq. And like some of these with like COVID now are online. So you could literally look for community college online and look for what